Hello students, welcome back to yet another session on solutions and colligative properties. Well, today I have something very interesting to show you all. Yes, this represents team spirit or teamwork. So how will you describe this team? You will say very innovative, very efficient, okay, very intelligent team. So does this adjective come based upon what is the nature of each participant in this team? No, it just depends upon how many members are present, and maybe one person behind this team had this brain of developing this technique of doing the work more efficiently and more lightly, right? So more the number of people in the team, the work will get done faster and more easily in a more efficient manner. So just the number of people coming together has made the work more simpler and easier. So similarly, in solutions too, just by coming together of particles or just by having a collection or aggregation of a number of solute particles, you can define certain characteristics of that solution. And that is what we are going to study today under the topic colligative properties. So what are colligative properties? Well, colligative properties are nothing but those physical properties of a solution that are defined based upon the number of solute particles in the solution and not on the nature of those solute particles. Okay, so the word colligative itself means aggregation or accumulation, means it also means collection. So when the number of particles come together, certain properties of the solution change, or we are able to measure some difference in properties, and those properties are called colligative properties. So there are basically four types of colligative properties which you need to know. The first one is vapor pressure lowering, the second is boiling point elevation, the third one is freezing point depression, and the fourth one is osmotic pressure. Now in today's session, we'll be studying more about vapor pressure lowering. So as you see in this beaker, there is a liquid enclosed in a closed container. So here, simultaneously, the processes of evaporation and condensation are taking place. So after some time, an equilibrium is established between the rate of evaporation and the rate of condensation. And at this equilibrium stage, the pressure exerted by the vapors on its liquid surface is known as vapor pressure. Now, what do you mean by vapor pressure lowering? This can be better understood with this diagrammatic representation. So here I've taken a beaker, let us say of pure solvent. The pure solvent may be water. So here you can see the vapors of the water molecules on the surface of the liquid. In this beaker, I've added some solute, say NaCl, sodium chloride. So remember, the solute under consideration is a non-volatile solute. We have already derived an expression for vapor pressure of solutions containing a non-volatile solute. So because the solute is non-volatile, you do not see any vapors of the solute on the surface of the solution. And also, if you notice, the number of vapor particles, that is the molecules in the gaseous state, the blue colored particles, have also become less in the second beaker. Now, why has this become less? It is because of the solute-solvent interaction, the process of dissolution. So as a result, the amount of solvent particles that are available in the vapor state above the solution is less. So as it is evident from this picture, the vapor pressure above the pure solvent is more and the vapor pressure above the solution is less. This is called as lowering of vapor pressure. So if I were to denote the vapor pressure of pure solvent as P10, the 0 represents the pure state and 1 stands for solvent. So if P10 is the vapor pressure of pure solvent and P is the vapor pressure of solution, then I can say that P is less than P10. P is vapor pressure of solution, which is less than the vapor pressure of the pure solvent P10. Now let us derive an expression for vapor pressure lowering so that we can measure this extent of vapor pressure lowering. So we just understood that vapor pressure of solution, that is P, is always less than vapor pressure of pure solvent, that is P10. Hence, I can say P10 minus P. This will give me the difference in vapor pressure. And this difference in vapor pressure of pure solvent and the solution is called as delta P, or lowering of vapor pressure. So we can define the lowering of vapor pressure as the difference in vapor pressure of pure solvent and the vapor pressure of solution. So delta P is equal to P10 minus P. All right. Now, in our last session, we have derived an expression for calculating the vapor pressure of a solution by using Raoult's law. And we understood that vapor pressure of a solution is nothing but P10 into X1, where P10 is vapor pressure of pure solvent and X1 is the mole fraction of that solvent in the solution. By definition of mole fraction, we know that X1 plus X2 is equal to 1, and hence I can substitute X1 as 1 minus X2. Now, if I expand this term, I will get P10 into 1 is nothing but P10, and P10 into minus X2. Then I get minus P10 X2. So now I have P is equal to P10 minus P10 X2. I just rearrange this expression now. Take this term P10 X2 to the left hand side and bring P to the right hand side. So I have P10 X2 is equal to P10 minus P. But what is my P10 minus P? That is nothing but delta P, as we have seen here. So I get P10 into X2 is equal to delta P. That means my lowering of vapor pressure delta P is P10 into X2. Or I can say lowering of vapor pressure is vapor pressure of pure solvent multiplied by the mole fraction of the solute. Right? Okay. So this brings us to the relation between vapor pressure lowering and the mole fraction of the solute particles. Okay, so as you saw in this expression, delta P is directly proportional to X2. Okay, delta P directly proportional to mole fraction of the solute particles. But it also depends upon the nature of the solvent. See, it also depends upon P10. That means it depends upon the nature of the solvent. So if I replace the water by alcohol, then obviously because alcohol is more volatile in nature, my delta P value will also be different. So it is like, let us say there are two students, student A and student B. Let us say student A gets 10 marks in test 1 and 12 marks in test 2. Whereas the student B has got 10 marks in the first test, but 14 marks in the test 2. So who has done better? So I'm sure all of you would say student B has done better. But this is just what it appears on the face of it. You cannot compare just when I tell you this much. This information is insufficient. Let us say I add on something more to this. Now I tell you student A has scored 10 marks in test 1 and 12 marks in test 2. But both the test were for 20 marks. That means student A got 10 out of 20 in test 1 and 12 out of 20 in test 2. On the other hand, student B has got 10 marks out of, let us say, 40 marks. Okay, the total test was for 40. So in test 1, he got 10 out of 40. In test 2, he got 14 out of 20. So now, just by looking at these numbers on the face of it, can you compare and say that student B has done better? Well, obviously not. You need to do further calculations. You need to have a proper comparison, right? So in order to have a proper comparison, maybe you can convert it into percentages and then compare. So that means your base becomes the same. The marks will be out of 100. So similarly, in order to compare the lowering of vapor pressure, we have to have something to eliminate this nature of the solvent. And that is why we need to define what is known as relative lowering of vapor pressure. Right? तो चाहे वो अल्कोहल हो, चाहे वाटर हो, उसका वेपर प्रेशर जितना भी हो सॉल्वेंट का, that should not make a difference. It should not interfere in the measurement of vapor pressure. And that is why we need to define relative lowering of vapor pressure for comparing two or more solutions and determining whose lowering of vapor pressure is more. So what is relative lowering of vapor pressure? This is defined as the ratio of vapor pressure lowering to the vapor pressure of pure solvent. Okay, vapor pressure lowering of a solvent in a solution, uska kitna hai? That means delta P value kitna hai in comparison with vapor pressure of pure solvent. So if you see the mathematical expression, it will become more clearer. It is as follows. That is delta P upon P10. Relative lowering of vapor pressure is, I'm not only comparing my delta P. I'm not just taking the delta P values of two solutions and comparing. What I'm doing here is, I'm taking a ratio of this delta P with respect to the solvent that I have taken. So it is delta P divided by vapor pressure of the pure solvent. So this ratio, that is ratio of vapor pressure lowering of a solvent in a solution, okay, to the vapor pressure of pure solvent. So see here, what is vapor pressure lowering of a solvent? I have taken here P10, that is vapor pressure of pure solvent in comparison with vapor pressure of solution. So we know solution का vapor pressure कम होता है, solvent का vapor pressure ज़्यादा होता है. So P10 minus P will give me vapor pressure lowering of that solvent in the solution. And when I take the ratio of this to the vapor pressure of the pure solvent, then this is called as relative lowering of vapor pressure. So what is relative lowering of vapor pressure? Mathematically, it is delta P upon P10. Okay? All right. Now, we have to relate this with the mole fraction. So, as we saw in the earlier slide, the delta P or lowering of vapor pressure is given as P10 into X2, right? So, I now know that relative lowering of vapor pressure, I have to determine a term for that. So what I do in this equation, I just rearrange. I bring the P10 to the right hand side. So what happens? I have X2 is equal to delta P upon P10. And what is my delta P upon P10? This is the relative lowering of vapor pressure. So now I know my relative lowering of vapor pressure is equal to X2. That means it depends only on the mole fraction of the solute. Okay, so we come to the understanding that relative lowering of vapor pressure is equal to the mole fraction of the solute in the solution. That is delta P upon P10 is equal to X2. It is equal to the mole fraction of solute. There is no mention of solvent here. There is no mention of nature of solute also over here. It is only mole fraction of solute. So because this relative lowering of vapor pressure depends only on the number of solute particles. It depends on mole fraction of solute means what? Mole fraction is nothing but number of solute particles. So since it depends only on the number of solute particles, we say that relative lowering of vapor pressure is a colligative property. Because what is a colligative property? A property that depends only on number of solute particles. It does not depend upon the nature of the solute particles. So hence we understand that relative lowering of vapor pressure is a colligative property. Okay. Now, what is the purpose of studying this colligative property? We need to apply it somewhere, right? So suppose I have a solution in which I do not know what is the solute present there. So I need to determine what is the type of solute or what is the substance that I have dissolved in that solution. Okay. So if I have an unknown solution, I mean a solution in which the solute is unknown, then I can determine that by finding the value of this colligative property. So for that, we need to derive a relation between the molar mass and vapor pressure lowering. So we just saw that relative lowering of vapor pressure, that is delta P by P10 is equal to X2. That is, it is equal to the mole fraction of the solute. But what is mole fraction? By definition, we know that mole fraction is nothing but ratio of number of moles of any one component to the total number of moles in the solution. So here I am taking X2, that means 2 represents solute. So mole fraction of solute is equal to number of moles of solute, that means N2, upon total number of moles in solution. Total number of moles in solution will be moles of solvent plus number of moles of solute, that is N1 plus N2. So I have, by definition, X2 is equal to N2 upon N1 plus N2. Now, for very, very dilute solutions, that means the amount of solute is going to be very less because it is a very dilute solution. So solvent is going to be more. So because solvent is more, the mole fraction of solvent is very much greater than the mole fraction of solute. So N1 is very much greater than N2. So when I add N1 plus N2, I can neglect this N2 because N2 is very, very small and N1 is very, very huge. So if I neglect the N2, I can say N1 plus N2 is equal to N1 itself. So this we will substitute in this above expression. So what do I get? I have X2 is equal to N2 upon N1. Again, by definition of moles, what is mole? Okay, we know that number of moles is nothing but weight of the substance divided by its molar mass. So if I am calculating moles of solvent, one represents solvent. So N1 will be equal to mass of the solvent, which I'm denoting by W1 or weight of the solvent, divided by molar mass of the solvent, that is M1, right? Similarly, N2 will be equal to W2 upon M2. That is, number of moles of solute is equal to mass of solute W2 divided by molar mass of solute, that is M2. Now we will substitute this definition of N1 and N2 in this expression for X2. So let us see the next expression. We have X2 is equal to W2 into M2, W2 divided by M2 upon W1 by M1. I have just substituted the values of N1 and N2 in this above expression. So I get X2 is equal to W2 by M2 upon W1 by M1. So continuing with that, we have X2 equals W2 by M2 upon W1 by M1, which we saw in the previous slide. And we have also that relative lowering of vapor pressure delta P by P0 is equal to X2. So now we can equate these two steps. So I get delta P by P0 is equal to W2 into W2 by M2 into W1 by M1, which on rearranging, I will get delta P by P0 is equal to W2 by W1 into M1 by M2. Okay, see in this expression, you are having W2 by M2 upon W1 by M1. Okay, if I rearrange this, M2 will come in the denominator and this M1 will go to the numerator. So I have the final expression, that is W2 by W1 into M1 by M2. This is your relation between relative lowering of vapor pressure and the molar mass of the solute, that is M2. So as you can see here, M2 is in the denominator. That means my relative lowering of vapor pressure is inversely proportional to the molar mass of solute. So if the relative lowering of vapor pressure is more, then the molar mass is going to be smaller. And if the relative lowering of vapor pressure is less, then the molar mass is going to be higher. Now, once we know the molar mass, if I know the weight of the solute in the solution, if I know the mass of the molar mass of the solvent and the weight of the solvent in the solution, then lowering of vapor pressure I can determine experimentally, means by observation we can calculate this. Okay, so once I know all these values, so I know what is delta P, I know what is P10, I know W2, W1, I also know M1, then I can calculate M2 by using this particular formula. And once I know M2, that means I know the molar mass of the substance. Then we have studied last year how from the molar mass we can determine the empirical formula and the molecular formula of the substance. Okay, so of course we need to know the percentage composition of the substance also. Then we can determine the type of substance by knowing its molecular formula. So this is an application of studying the colligative property, lowering of vapor pressure. So remember children, relative lowering of vapor pressure is the colligative property which helps us to determine the molar mass, and this relative lowering of vapor pressure is inversely proportional to the molar mass of the solute, that is M2. Okay, I hope you have understood today's session. With this, we come to an end of the first colligative property, that is the lowering of vapor pressure. In our next session, we will take up the next colligative property, that is elevation in boiling point. So meanwhile, please go through the video, and if you have any doubts, any queries, please feel free to put it up in the comment box. Until then, thank you and goodbye.